This is really annoying. The video broke, so I have to record it again. Anyway, so I am convinced that I'm a complete psychopath because I have just watched the Circle film on Netflix, and I really loved it. I heard some bad things about it because basically there's like just a bunch of people that randomly get taken from Earth, and there's like, well, I think there's like some war or something, but you don't actually see that part. You just see these people randomly standing on this on these dots on the floor, and every time they step out of the dots, they die. And every 2 minutes, someone dies, and they have to like vote for the next person to die, and the person that has the most votes dies. And I really want to watch the whole thing again because I really liked it. And I find this kind of thing interesting, like who would choose who for what reason, and why, like if they say something, how would they react? And I don't know if it's necessarily how it would people would react, but I really loved it because I felt like I got a sense of it, and I kind of I thought, if I was in that position, what would I do? Who would I vote for? I think if I was in that position, I wouldn't last very long because I would 100% think that they're not actually dead, and that maybe they're, I don't actually see blood. They don't actually look dead. They just get zapped. And to be honest, they just like got in this position, and they have no idea how they've got in the position. They don't remember being taken or anything. So maybe they, to get into where they're into this game, maybe they just got zapped, fell down to the ground, and then got picked up and put in this place. So I would think that, if they got zapped and fell onto the ground, that they might not actually be dead. And it's weird how no one throughout the whole movie said that that could be a possibility. Maybe they're not dead. Maybe they're just unconscious or fallen out. It's interesting how not one person said that. But I guess the film producers wanted to make it as intense as possible. But yeah, I thought it was a really good film, and I loved. My favorite part actually was when they talked about like, oh, God wouldn't do this and stuff, and I was just like, actually, I think I'm God, and I would 100% do this because I feel like it's really good test on psychology, like who would choose who and what. You can learn things. I don't think everyone has to choose. I think at the beginning it's just people randomly die, and then at some point they realize that you can vote for the person who next dies. Although that bit didn't make any sense because I couldn't understand why this voting thing came in. Like, if people just start randomly dying, I wouldn't necessarily think that they're dying because people are voting for them. I think there should have been something at the beginning where someone reads like a letter out, and it says on it, yeah, someone will die every 2 minutes. Vote for the people who you want to be next. If someone thinks, and you vote by putting your hand up and thinking about the person or something. I don't even know how the voting thing happened, because sometimes people were supposed to vote for someone else, and they said no, she didn't vote for someone else. She did this. So I don't even know. Like, do you have to point to the person? I don't. I watched the whole film, and I still don't know how you actually have to vote for people. Maybe I have to watch the thing again. Maybe it said it somewhere and I didn't hear it or something. But yeah, so the voting thing didn't make sense, but it's given me some really good ideas for like some show. I'd really love to see a show where they just get random people in this and say like the winner wins like £500,000 or £200,000, and they have to. I would have done it like they ask a question, so a question comes up on a board, and everyone has like 10 seconds to answer the question, and then you choose who you want to vote out based on the question. I think that would be a really good game show. You first of all just say, introduce your name and what you do, and then everyone in the team say this, and then you have to vote who you want to, and you can say you don't have to vote. But if you don't have to vote, then two people will. If no one votes, then two people will be selected, and everyone has to vote between the two. I mean, I guess I don't know. Is there even a way to like not? Yeah, I don't know. Something like that. I would do a vote. Maybe I'd say you have to vote, just because I think you can learn more. But the candidates don't have to know that who's voted for who's voted for who. But maybe maybe there could be like a board on the screen on the TV, saying, thingy voted for this person, thingy voted for this one. I suppose it might be a bit, if there's too many people, it might be a bit hard. Like, there was points at the beginning where some people died and you didn't know who they were or why they died, or I don't know. There was some. I want to watch it again because I found it really interesting. But Yeah, it was interesting how people thought that God wouldn't do that, and I was just like 100%. I would love to do that, even if they thought that they were going to die. I think that would just make it a bit more intense. And for me, if I was to vote for people, I would have voted for the most argumentative, the people who argue or shout the most, or people who pick on others. If someone starts saying stuff or saying lies about someone else, I'd feel like that's a reason enough to choose that person. And I definitely wouldn't have voted for the child or the pregnant woman. But halfway through, when they started talking about, maybe one survives. When they said that, I was like, what, I don't actually want the child to survive. Why? Because if the child does survive and go on to the next place, she's not going to have the same kind of memory as the older ones. She's not going to be able to explain things. If she starts saying that there was this game and we were made to kill someone, if she says this to someone, they're not going to believe her. I mean, she's a child. They'll just think that she's delusional and not and telling lies. So I wouldn't have voted. I would have said actually the reason why she shouldn't have survived. I would want the survivor to be someone who was capable, um, probably physical able. So I probably wouldn't. I probably would have voted the guy with half an arm out, because if there was some sort of war back in if the survivor goes back to Earth, where they're after this sort of battle between aliens and man, where there's lots of man dead, they'll need to be physically able to be able to lift stuff, or to help create a new house, or help create a new world. So I would have chosen the ones who are young, physically able. I probably would have voted for the older ones to go, because they weren't as that not going to live as long, and I don't know if I would have been sort of saying all this though, because every time someone started saying their views, they became a target. But yeah, I think that I wouldn't survive, because I would have put myself forwards definitely to die, because I would have been like, they're not actually dead, they're just like they're just like knocked out or something. And I probably, if when they started saying, "Does anyone want to just put themselves to go?" I would have voted for that, yes, because I wouldn't have thought that, one, I wouldn't have thought I had much of a chance of surviving, and two, I am pretty suicidal. And but yeah, I would have loved to just like be like, I don't mind dying, but I would just love to kind of see who's voting for who, just because it would be interesting to know, like, who's lying, or who would say what they would, who would play the game, and who would just who would play the game to try and survive, or who would vote for who. How desperate does someone have to be to live, to vote for a 6-year-old child to die over other people? But if that 6-year-old child dying means saving themselves, I would have. And I wouldn't have actually killed them. I would have taken them off to be somewhere else. I think people should be glad that I'm not God, because if I had that power, or this, well, I am God, but if people should be glad that God doesn't have the power to do this, because I would have actually, I would think it would be quite fun to do something like this, just to see how people would react and stuff. But yeah, it's like, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I kind of want to watch it again. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think I said it the first time better.